There we go. All right, welcome everybody. Everyone should be here now. There's plenty of time. We're a few minutes past 2 o'clock. So I'm just going to bring up my clock here to make sure we stay on target, and let's dive in. So you may all be wondering, who am I? My name is Paul Saft. I'm the director of the Simon Technology Center at Pacer Center in Bloomington, Minnesota. We're going to talk a lot more about what the Simon Technology Center does at the end. So if you want more information on like services and how you can, go beyond what we're covering here today, you stay at the end and for that information. Couple of tips. I'm going to be putting links to the handouts in the chat. So I have a handout that has a link to and information of every single tool I'm going to be talking about today. So you can see the cost, the website, what it's compatible with. I'm going to put that in the chat here in just a moment. There's also going to be an evaluation at the end that I'm going to put in the chat. So for all of you professionals out there that are watching, if you want a certificate of attendance, you'll get that at the end of the evaluation. So if you fill out that evaluation, you should get that certificate of attendance. But it's only available, the certificate of attendance, for people who are watching live. If you're watching the recording on YouTube sometime in the future, we won't have the certificate available then. So all of you here, all 80 of you that are here, awesome. You have that option. All right, real quick, I'm not going to go deep into it, but just to make sure, the Simon Technology Center where I work is part of Pacer Center. And Pacer Center, if you're not familiar with us, we do a lot of different things. We have programs for children and adults with all types of disabilities. A big area that we do is advocating to help parents in navigating the school system for their kids with disabilities. But we have programs on transition, our National Bullying Prevention Center. We have children's mental health. So we have a lot of different services. Check out our website, www.pacer.org. There's a lot of different things. But I'm in the Simon Technology Center, where we're all about presenting assistive technology. So the stuff that we're going to look up today is all about what we do. You can sign up for consultations. You can check out our lending library. More information on that at the end. It's just my ploy to get you to stick around for the whole thing. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I've divided this up into a couple of different categories. I'm just going to show a couple of tools in these different areas. I'm going to look at some physical writing tools, not a ton there because we're virtual, so it's a little bit hard to get into that piece. We have to talk about dictation. That you can't do a writing technology workshop without talking about dictation. We're going to look at writing support apps. That should say apps right here. So we're going to look at some specific apps and also Chrome extensions that we're going to be looking at. So not just apps, but some Chrome extensions. And then some organization piece, a couple of ways to organize your thoughts and stay on track. And then ending with some grammar and rephrasing tools, just a couple of things there. So some basic stuff. We only have an hour, and I do want to show the benefits of each of these tools and kind of how they work, as opposed to just telling you that they exist. Right here, this big, huge symbol is a QR code. If you hold your phone up to it, your camera phone up to it, you should be able to access our the handout for today. But I am just going to put that in the chat right now, so you have it. All right, so let me grab this. You can all see what I'm doing here. Oh man, what am I doing? What did I just do? Okay, I just ruined it. All right. This is being weird on me. My computer is doing weird stuff. It's just because everybody is looking. Okay, back to the chat. And I'm going to put this in here for everyone. Bam. There you go. So now, if everybody was wondering what was taking so long, now you know there's the link to the handouts. This handout also is going to get sent in the follow-up email. So if for whatever reason you can't access this link, because sometimes Google Drive doesn't work for everybody, this is going to go out in an email as well. So don't panic if you can't get it open. I will go through the stuff and give you all that info as we go. All right, let's dive in. So Some writing tools. This is a little bit tricky because we're virtual. I'm going to switch to make my camera bigger here. I just have a couple of different things. I wanted to separate this into a couple of different categories. And first off, I want to talk about pencil grips. And the thing is about pencil grips is you can't really know what's going to work for you until you actually get your hands on them. You can see different ideas, like I have a couple of different ideas here to get you started, but really it's one of those things that you kind of have to experiment with and see what works. Or if you know your strengths and weaknesses with writing, these pencil grips, you can maybe make a more educated guess at what might work for you. If you're doing a certain type of physical therapy, there might be some ones that work well for you. But the first thing I have here, let me switch my camera. Let me check the chat first. Pencil grips aren't really effective, evidence-based. Do you have some information about their effectiveness? Fantastic question. So I haven't done any research. I can't say that, oh yes, this is absolutely going to work. It's going to be more anecdotal information, not research-based. But the thing is, if nothing else, what a pencil grip can do is make someone feel a little bit better about their writing, a little bit better about the process, or just be more excited about engaging in writing. So even if it's maybe not technically making improvements, the tool itself isn't, in terms of it's not making their grasp better, or it's not making their handwriting more legible, it might be getting them more excited to engage with writing. Which is probably even more important than having the right pencil grip. So even if you don't have the right one, if they're excited about it and they're excited about writing, that's going to do wonders. So that's another thing to consider about when you're looking at pencil grips. Does the individual get excited about using that tool? And maybe they do. So that's one benefit for sure. But like I said, I haven't done any research on it or anything like that. Let me just stop my share real quick so I can make my screen a little bit bigger. This is the Eggs, oh, I'm over here. Eggs O's pencil grip. It's just like a foam ball. Like you could probably, buy foam balls and just poke a hole in it and use it that way. But it's light. It kind of spreads the grip out. It kind of encourages not squishing down. Sometimes people push really hard and squeeze really hard as they're writing. So this gives you a lot of cushion there. So that's kind of a nice option. The other thing I have here, this is a really popular one. This is called the Twist and Write. It kind of gives you a little brace for your finger and a little thing that, there we go, a little thing that holds it in there. It kind of encourages this idea of holding it like that because you can't really hold it any other way. So some people get pretty excited about this, and it's sparkly. So, I mean, pretty sweet. And then the last one here to show off, this is another kind of category. It has this traditional kind of squishy grip. So if you're squeezing really hard, it can feel a little better, but this is also heavy. So this is one of those things that I can't really demonstrate here on camera, but you'll just have to take my word for it. It's a little bit heavier. And that bulk can kind of help guide and keep it smooth as you write, and just sometimes just feels good to have something, kind of clunky and chunky in your hands. And for some people, this is awful, So in some cases, it's a great thing. In some cases, it's not. So it's just another idea of what could work. I said foam curlers for curling your hair, grip for pencils and markers. Okay. I saw a question, another in the chat, where you can get the raised line paper. That's the next one I was going to show. Raised line paper is another thing that you can't really demonstrate in a virtual workshop, but these lines on here, they're actually raised up a little bit. Yeah, there's no way you can see that on here, but you can feel it. And what it does is it guides your writings to help you stay straight. A really common thing in writing is to kind of start going a different direction, going up, going down. This helps guide you because you can feel it. It's a nice tactile cue for kids as they're learning how to write. It can also help with size too, because they stay up, they don't go up or down. So it's a really nice thing. You can just find this on Amazon. You just do a quick search for raised line paper. There's a ton of it. The link that we have in the handout, I don't think it's Amazon. I think it's Therapy Shop is where this one is from, but you can just get the same stuff from Amazon. So it's pretty nice. But that's raised line paper as just an idea to help with that. And the other thing that I don't have an example here, I didn't bring it from our lending library, but a non-slip writing pad. Let me go back to my screen. Just like a non-slip writing mat, something that just sits right on your desk and so the paper doesn't slide around. That alone, keeping your paper in place can make a huge difference. You're not having to battle the paper at the same time as battle the pen or pencil. So it's a pretty nice idea. And you can find those on Amazon. You can find them anywhere. This one right here is another one from Therapy Shop. It actually it's almost like a frame. It's not just a mat that's non-slip, but it actually holds it down a little bit too. But just a straight non-slip, like kind of silicone or rubber mat can make a huge difference. We got a comment in there. Highlighters are also a great option for helping with letter sizing and placement of letters on lines. There are a lot of options available on Amazon. Teachers pay teachers. Awesome. That's a great idea. Highlighting between the midline and baseline. Fantastic idea. And if you're working at a school district, ask your occupational therapy staff. They most likely have different types of adapted paper, including raised line paper. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. They make raised line paper with more room. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, excuse me. They make a lot of different size raised line paper, not just this one. You can have bigger ones. You can have some with sort of the dashes in the middle. So there's a big variety. So I went kind of fast. I didn't show a ton of things, but I wanted to make sure we talked about some of these physical writing things, because when we start talking about technology, a lot of people forget about the low tech options, and the low tech options can be a really great way, one, to get kids or adults engaged in that writing process. And there still is a lot of value with being able to write on paper. I'm going to be the first one that'll say, learn to type if you can, learn ways, because using digital tools opens up a lot of opportunities. But I'm also going to be a proponent for the value of writing on paper as well, if you're able to. So anyways, let's keep moving on. And we got to talk speech to text. There's a lot of options. There's a lot of options. And I put some of the basic ones here, some of the most popular ones here. And I do want to talk a little bit about the pros and cons to speech to text. A lot of people using speech to text get frustrated because what the speech to text does, or voice typing, is it doesn't always get perfect accuracy in the words that you're trying to say. So now you've said this whole story or this whole paragraph, and you go back and it has completely wrong words. So now you're going back and you're not just fixing grammar and things like that, but you're replacing words, and it can be a really frustrating process. So I will say that speech to text and voice typing is not going to be the best option for everybody. But it still has a lot of value for obvious reasons. Just a quick note of these different ones. Google Docs is one of the most popular and easily free available items out there. Dragon Naturally Speaking, I'm not going to demo that, but let's go to the website real quick. Where'd it go? There it is. ProWritingAid. Oh, what did I just do? I stopped the share. I swear I know how to use computers. I hit the big red button that says stop share instead of going to Dragon. So there's a lot of different versions of Dragon Naturally Speaking. I just wanted to mention it because it is kind of the kind of quintessential tool for dictation. It can be very accurate. It can learn your voice and the way you pronounce things. The downside is it's expensive and it takes time to learn. So if you're looking for a quick and easy solution, this is not your answer, but this is going to be a very effective solution if you take time to teach it how you pronounce things, teach it your voice. It can be a very accurate thing, and it can also be used to control your computer, not just to dictate. So Dragon can really do a lot of different things. So I just wanted to mention dragging before I get into the other things. The next thing I do want to make sure everybody knows about. A lot of people are probably familiar with it, but I just have to talk about Google Docs. So if you just go to docs.google.com, in the tools menu or drop down, you have something called voice typing. You click on that, and then you have this microphone here, and it's nice. Because it's free and readily available, but this is Google Docs, which means it's running online, which means you need to have internet connection to use it. You need to be using this in a browser. Now you can use it to a certain degree in a Chromebook offline, but it just doesn't work the way it's going to online. But you basically just click this, make sure it has permission. And now I am typing with my voice, and Google Docs is actually surprisingly accurate, period. And, oh, it fixed it. It had a completely wrong word, but then it figured out that I said Google Docs. Oh, and I said is instead of has, but I kind of slurred a little bit. I also don't have the nicest microphone right now, and it's kind of echoing here, but it's a nice, quick, easy tool that's available. Let me see what we got in the chat here. With dragging and other speech to text, does the student need to say the punctuation? Yes. The cost for Dragon, the home edition for Dragon, I think is $200. It's on that handout, which I can bring up right here. Dragon is, yeah, $200 for the home edition. That's a one-time purchase, so it's not, you know, these subscription things that are super annoying these days. But there are some other versions too, like there's a mobile version, which is a little bit cheaper, but that's the official home version of it. But did I answer that other question? Oh yeah, punctuation, exclamation points, all those things you do need to say those. With Dragon, there is some ability, but you do have to do the punctuation because it needs to know when a sentence is ending. But you can teach it things like how, like you can teach it what things you say are supposed to mean. So maybe there's a way you can set it up to make it easier to add punctuation and things like that. But this is where some other tools that we get into might come in handy. Some grammar tools, some different tools to help with that piece. The only downside then is you're combining tools, and it maybe gets a little bit complicated. So that's Google Docs. A lot of you are probably already using it, but I just want to make everybody here is aware that it exists and it's free. So then, speaking of free, Microsoft is not free. Microsoft products cost money. So we're talking Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Excel, OneNote, Outlook for email. All of those tools, not Excel, sorry, Excel does not have this option, but the other main ones like Word, for example, and Outlook for writing emails has dictation built in. So if you have the most recent version of that, so Office 365, in this home tab right up here, we have Dictate. Let me type a little bit here at the bottom. Boop, boop. And this is Microsoft's version of Dictation, period. It is surprisingly accurate and it's fun to use, period. Let's see how to do. Oh, it didn't do period. It didn't get any of my punctuation. So I haven't experimented with how that punctuation works. I'm used to using Google Docs, but it's there. And a lot of people aren't aware. If you're already using Microsoft products, you might not be aware that it exists. There's a dictation tool already there. But I think what's especially helpful is anybody who's using Outlook for emails, that can be a great option because dictation for emails can be what someone's looking for. Maybe someone doesn't always want to open up a Google Doc to have dictation. You want to send an email. If you're using Microsoft products, that's available. Now, I will pose a question out to the whole group. I didn't think to check. There's an operating system-wide dictation available in Windows 10 and Windows 11 by pressing Windows key plus H. That is true. There is a voice recognition just built right into Windows. I haven't used Windows 11 version. I'm hoping it's a little bit better. When I use Windows 10's built-in version of dictation that can work on everything, I get a ton of glitches, and it's had a really bad job in recognizing my voice. That's just my experience with it. But you may have a much better experience. But if you have a Windows machine, a Windows computer, try it out. This is a great tip. Put the Windows key and H, or speech recognition or voice recognition, I forget what it's called, and it's built into it, which is pretty cool. Thank you for that tip. Windows 11 dictation is better. Awesome. And Microsoft bought Dragon? I had no idea. Okay, that's super exciting. So yeah, that's actually really good to know. I have Windows 11 on this computer. I should try it out. Thank you for that. But speaking of dictation and email, another thing that you can do is get dictation for Gmail through a Chrome extension. So for those of you using Chromebooks or Mac or any computer, really, if you're using the Chrome browser, you can get an extension called Dictation for Gmail. And I think there's a couple of different versions. This is just the one that I've always used. Let me bring up there it is. Boop. My sample account here. So if you're not familiar with the Chrome extension, just really quick, we go Dictation for Gmail extension. There is a Google Chrome store where you can find these different added features to your browser, and you click Add to Chrome. I already have it, that's why it says remove, and now you have this extra feature. And when you install this one, what's nice is, yes, it shows up right here in your browser, but when you compose a message in Gmail specifically, you get this extra tool in the compose box that's a little microphone. And when you hit that, you have to make sure to allow that. I am now using my voice to type directly into an email, and this is nice. And then you can send that off. That can be a great way to kind of streamline that process and give someone the ability to write emails more seamlessly. It just made me think of some other tools, like there's different types of shortcuts that you can set to open up your email and go right to this dictation thing, but that's in a whole different category. But this can be a great way to get started writing emails. All right, we got a couple things in chat. What we got? Eager to learn about SnapType Pro and ModMath Pro. Is the Gmail extension free? Yes, this one is free. That is free. Some cost money, but the one I just showed, Dictation for Gmail, is free. I can never get read and write dictation to work with Google Slides. Do you know anything about that? I do not, but I'm going to look into it. I'm going to write it down and try to figure that out. I guess I have had some issues here and there with read and write, but as far as SnapType Pro and ModMath Pro, I don't have any demos for those two tools, Elizabeth, but I use them a lot. So if you have specific questions about those specific things, you can reach out to me. I'd be happy to answer that, or anyone in our Simon Technology Center. We use those two tools a lot, so I'd be happy to answer questions about those. Read and write also seems to be very glitchy. It does seem to be glitchy, and you are accurate. I agree. So yeah, but that's actually what we're moving into next here, is some writing supports. And I can't talk about writing supports without talking about read and write for Chrome. Read and write for Chrome, when it works, is amazing. It does have some glitches a little bit here and there that I've found with my experience. I've also had long swaths of time where it never goes wrong and it always works perfectly. So I'm not really sure where the glitches come from or how to mitigate them. I just know sometimes that happens. They do have a free trial, so you can try it out and see how it works for you. But it is expensive. I think it's $150 for the year. So like 12 bucks a month or something like that. But let me show you what Read and Write for Chrome is. And today's focus is on writing supports, AT for writing, because Read and Write also does some reading things, so I won't get too much into that. So let me go to this again. I'm going to open up Google Docs, and I will point out you don't have to use it with Google Docs. I happen to use it with it because that's what I'm used to. You can use it with Microsoft Word Online. If you weren't familiar, Microsoft does have a free version of Word and their online version. If you sign up for a Microsoft account, you don't have to pay for just their online version of it, but it doesn't have all the tools that Microsoft Word proper, the desktop app, has. What do we got in the chat? I've had great experience with Read and Write. Awesome. Company has been very responsive. I do agree they are responsive to a lot of things, that I don't like it on iPad, but great on Chrome. I have only used it on Chrome myself, but when it works, I love it. So Read and Write is another Chrome extension. This one does cost money. You need to have an account with it. And then you have this extra toolbar, or this item up here as an extension. You click on that and it gives you this big toolbar with all these different features, really cool features. If you ever want to learn more about the highlighting collection tool, that's really neat, but we might not, I don't know if we'll get to it here today. There's things for helping you read. So like the screen masking to help you focus on a specific line. It does text to speech, so it reads it for you. But the main thing I wanted to look at was these two things. One, word prediction. If I turn this on, when I start typing, it's suggesting for me the words that I might want to write. This is my, and you'll see, pay no attention to this one right here. We're going to get to that in a second. My presentation. Oh, it's there it is. Presentation on writing. Hey, there it goes. Figured it out pretty quick. And I can just click on that. So the idea behind word prediction is kind of twofold. One, it can limit the amount of typing you have to do because you just click on the suggested word, but it can also kind of give you a prompt of what to write, which can be helpful when you're stuck and you don't know where to begin. This can kind of get you going and get you flowing a little bit. It doesn't always work for everybody, but those are kind of the two things that I really like with word prediction. It can also sometimes help with just with spelling as well. If you know how to start the word, but you don't know how to spell it all the way out, that can help because it gives you some suggestions. So it's pretty nice. But the other thing that about writing that I wanted to look at, there is a dictionary, which is really sweet. So you can just select a word and hit dictionary. And then bam, you have the dictionary of that word. There's also a picture dictionary, which is interesting. It shows picture representations of your word. I don't know. I don't think you can customize these. So some of them are super weird and complicated to me, but some of them are really helpful. And some of them are based off of common like communication standards and images. So they can be actually really nice as well for someone who is used to using like a communication device. This can be helpful because it uses some of those same pictures. So that's that picture dictionary. And then one last thing for writing I like to show off is the voice note. I like to do that to give myself just a quick note on something as I'm doing my research paper or writing whatever. I can do a quick note to help me remember kind of where my train of thought was. I just hit this and I can record a short note about or a comment about what I'm writing. So when I come back to it later, I know where my train of thought was going. Let me see what we got in the Q&A here. Where can I get the PowerPoint with the information? I promote your site with parents. Yeah, the PowerPoint, I could send that out too. The PowerPoint doesn't actually have any other information on it that isn't on the handout. It has the same titles and things like that. The handout has what's on the PowerPoint plus more, including my contact info and all that as well. But if someone wants the PowerPoint, I can certainly include that. You know what, I'll just do that. I'm going to include the PowerPoint with the follow-up email that goes out. Otherwise, I have a link to the handout in the chat. It's a great question. I'm going to say answer that live. And what do we got in the chat here? Word prediction can be much more accurate with context. That's where actually we're getting to next with context. There's read and write for iPad, but it is limited compared to the Chrome version. Yep, still a nice tool, but not quite as easy and more limited for sure. Yeah, I was aware of that. That is a good point, Kathy, that the iPad version of read and write is different. It doesn't have all those same tools. And she's also right, Elizabeth. There are no stupid questions when you're learning. So that's read and write. This feature right here is so cool. All right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to show that tool. If you're not familiar with it, I'm going to show this tool. Let me bring up my photosynthesis example real quick. It's so cool. I got to do it. If you're not familiar with read and write, you got to see this tool. It's not really for writing, but it could be for researching. You know, that's good. That's part of writing. So yeah, I'm going to call it part of it. This tool right here, let me turn on my toolbar here. And so now as I'm going, let's say I'm doing some research and I'm researching photosynthesis and I find a passage that I really like. Well, I can say, okay, this is an important part of the passage. I'm going to highlight it using this highlight tool. That alone, pretty cool. And then here's another thing that's related that's pretty cool. I'm going to highlight that one as well. As I keep reading, oh, here's something that's important, but it's a slightly off topic. I'm going to highlight it with a different color. And here's something else, highlight it with another different color. All very cool. So just the highlights alone. So now when I go through and review this, I have these important parts. But then there's this tool right here, the collect highlights. This is where it gets cool. If I click that button, it says which highlights do you want to collect? I was going to say all of them. I'm going to sort them by color. I'm going to hit OK, and then does its magic, beep, boop, bop, beep, and it creates a Google Doc with all your highlights in the order that you highlight or colored together, and a link to the page that you got those from. So your source. It's a great way to combine all your information as you're going through and trying to collect this stuff to write a research paper or something like that. It is super fun and super awesome. And it's a great tool, can definitely use for writing as long as kids understand, yes, there is the whole thing on plagiarism. You can't just use this, incorporate that, which, speaking of plagiarism, we're going to get to that at the end, is going to be kind of cool. Can you share once more the list of links on the sheet you mentioned before the class finishes? Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, I think I still have that link copied, so I'm just going to plop it right in here again. There is, I just put in the chat a link to this handout that has all of the information on it, and all of the links to all the tools that we're looking at today. So it's still saved in my clipboard. So that's read and write. I spent a little more time than I planned on it, but it's a very robust tool. There's more things for reading. So if reading is an important factor to be, in which often reading and writing go together, then this is potentially a really great option for you. It runs great in Chrome, but there is an expense to it. It's $150 for the year, but there are some options for educators. And so definitely see if, you know, if there's deals that work. I've never bought it as an educator. Can you point out again which icon you clicked on to create those notes? Yeah, it's just this one right here. This little, looks like kind of a recycling symbol. It's called collect highlights. It's pretty slick. And then it creates a separate Google Doc. That's important to remember. If I keep doing more of this, it'll keep putting it into this Google Doc, which is pretty slick. All right, next. So word prediction was the one thing I really wanted to look at, and that's where we get into the next bit, which is co-writer. I personally love co-writer for the word prediction, but that's really all it is. I mean, there's some other things too, but it really is, it's word prediction tool. And here's why I love co-writer. Co-writer is a Chrome extension. You can also get it as a keyboard, like an on-screen keyboard for an iPad, so that these tools are right on your iPad as well. But check this out. So right now, my word prediction is actually running right here. I have it on. So let's see how it does. This is my presentations. It's doing plural, presentation on writing. So it's giving me these word predictions. It's going really fast. It pops up. You notice with read and write is slightly slower because read and write's doing a lot of different things. Co-writer was nice because it pops up rather quickly. But here's where co-writer stands out and is different. And there's a couple of things that make it different, but here's the big thing. If you go into the co-writer extension and you go into options, you can create topics for your word prediction. So right now you'll see I have a topic called dinosaurs on Wikipedia is currently activated. So now you'll notice as I'm writing, the word prediction is looking more for, look at that. It already suggested dinosaurs. But see if I start typing, let's see, I thought it was going to do, yeah, look at that, Myosaurus. And instead of some other, I guess it did some health things too. Mosasaurus, sorry, I thought that was going to be Myosaurus. Tyrannosaurus, look at that, it's already doing that. So the idea behind the categories is to give it that context before you start writing so that the word prediction can be more accurate. I found that to be really helpful in a lot of situations. It just does a slightly better job at trying to predict what it is that you're writing about. It does use context with your writing as well, but it gives it even more through these categories. And I'll just mention these categories, we created these. You can search for any topic. So I can search for, like you see, I have Minecraft there. Let's do assistive technology. Yeah, there's one. And now I have a category, assistive technology. I had one on The Hobbit. So if I start typing BI, it suggests Bilbo or something like that. So it's a pretty cool option. Let's see, text help, bot co-writer. Hopefully see some of those tools merging at some point. Oh man, I am behind the times on who's buying who. So thank you for that info, Nicole. Also love co-writer for its word prediction. I know that's focused at AT for writing, but it also can help support students with their reading vocabulary. Yeah, absolutely. With that word prediction pops up in context, and that right there helps with vocabulary. It's giving different suggestions of words that they might not think of. It's fantastic for a lot of different things. So that's co-writer. And then lastly on this section, and we only have 15 minutes left. That's all right. I don't have a ton to go through anymore yet. I want to just look at Ginger Writer. I used to show Ginger a lot in my consultations, and I haven't done it lately, but it is a really neat tool. And specifically, I like its rephrase feature. So let me bring up Ginger Writer. So Ginger, the organization, makes a lot of different tools and things, but here, I just have this open on in the browser, the grammar checker and rephraser. They have just like a word processor that's really nice. I'm going to turn off co-writer here so we don't have this word prediction. But no, why is it there? Get out of here. All right, this is my new sentence. It is wonderful. And we have this button here called rephrase. And let's see what it does. This is my new sentence, rephrase. This is my new quote. This is the new line. This is my new statement. So it's really neat how it gives just a different way to rephrase things. I mean, it is wonderful. That's great. This is amazing. That's marvelous. It's kind of doing synonyms here. And in the full Ginger Writer, there is a button just to click on synonyms, which is really nice. And there also is a dictionary. Oh, I don't have it in this version here. But a dictionary that's phonetic. So it doesn't go based off the letters that, how close they are to another word. It goes based off the phonetics and how you would sound it out. So you can sound out words and it makes suggestions based off of how you sounded it out. That's kind of a neat feature. But I just wanted to look at this rephrase option. It's a really neat tool and a great way to just get some variety in your writing and think about how you're gonna rephrase your writing. So in the chat, so for a student that has difficulty with composing, writing, and getting thoughts out on paper, organizing thoughts, what tool would you recommend? So that, and how much is Ginger? Ginger is, I want to say 20 or 15 or 20. Let me bring that up. Pardon me. Ginger is, no, that's Glean. Where did Ginger go? Oh, $7 a month. $7 a month. And I am missing the link for that. It's just, you can just look up Ginger. Sorry guys, that link is missing. But for organizing thoughts and getting thoughts out onto paper, that's a tough question. It's so different from in person to person. But that leads into our next section, conveniently. Thank you for that lead in there, Hillary. No, actually, it leads to the next section. So I'm going to get into some of these note-taking tools. I only wanted to show one or two of these anyway, and then we'll get to that organization and getting things on paper. I have a couple of different ideas, but to get things on paper, so the student from student is so different. It's hard to say without knowing that student, but I'll give a couple of different ideas of things that have worked. But first, note-taking. I can't do a writing workshop without talking about smart pens. I'm going to switch my camera here so you can see how much time do we have left. Oh, perfect. Doing great. It's as if I planned this out. I'm going to stop the share. And so this is a Live Scribe Echo. Right now this has been discontinued, and it's now, they sell this a Live Scribe Echo 2, but has all the same features. It's self-contained. It's very nice. I just have used this one, so I'm going to use it to demo the features. And if you're not familiar with how a smart pen works, this particular one is a recording device, and when I turn it on, boop, make the beep. No, it didn't do the beep. All right, so it has a microphone built into it. And the idea is you also have this sensor on the bottom. And when combined with this paper, you can't see it on my camera. It's not a good enough camera. There's little tiny dots all across this page. They're hard to see in real life, but that lets it know where on the paper this pencil or this pen is writing. Now the dots are printed on. They're not like tactile or anything. They're just printed on there. So you could technically print this paper out, but ink is expensive, so it's cheaper to buy these things. And so what it does is with the pen, it knows where on the paper your pen is because of those little dots. It's kind of like a graph or a grid. And so down here, there's a record. And when I hit record, I don't know if you heard that. Let me make sure. Well, yeah, my microphone's working, so you should be able to hear that. Now it's recording everything that the teacher is saying, or everything that's happening in the meeting, or the instructions that you're given. And now what you do is you take notes as normal, as best as you can. So when you hear something really important, I have some examples on here, like, oh, I have to remember this thing, it's going to be on the test. Maybe I'll just write the word test. Or maybe I have really bad handwriting, but this is an important thing. Maybe I'll just write a little scribble because that's really important. Maybe I'll just try my best to keep up, but my handwriting is just too slow. But at least I make a mark on the paper and make a mark when something important is being said. Now the lecture's done. I did my best to take my notes. I stopped the recording. Now when I go back and I look at my notes, some of them I can read, some of them I can't. And I look at this and I say, I don't remember what the teacher was saying when I made this note. So I hold my pen to that note. So when you hear something really important, and it plays back what the teacher was saying or what the person was saying when I made that note. It actually starts playing back like 10 or 15 seconds before. And you can customize that. So maybe it plays back a minute before you started writing, because maybe you want to listen to the whole thing before you write. You know, you can customize that, but it's so cool. It doesn't do the note taking for you. You still have to learn that skill of note taking, which is hearing something and getting it down on paper. but you don't have to be able to write legibly. You don't have to be able to write fast. You can get distracted and miss things and not write it down, but still have the recording later. It's kind of like this backup. It's pretty nice. It is very good for, so there's a question in the chat and it comes up every time. It's a fantastic question. Is it sensitive enough when a person with a pen is further away from the speaker, such as in a classroom? And it is designed for a classroom. So the way I see it is, generally speaking, if you can hear the instructor, this thing can hear it too. Now, the downside is if you have people sitting next to you that are talking, even if they're whispering, if they're closer, it might pick them up as well, because it's just one big omnidirectional microphone. So it does need to be kind of in a quiet classroom. If it's loud and rambunctious, you might get distractions in your recording, but it can pick up the teacher if you can hear the teacher, generally speaking. So it is pretty good. And the newest version is quite nice. It's a slightly better everything. So it's pretty cool. And there's been a question that comes up about recording things in, like, are you allowed to record conversations? Are you allowed to record things? And that's an area that I can't speak on. I don't know what the rules are there, but generally speaking, if you're allowed to record, this is a really helpful tool. And just the concept in general, that's what I wanted to, that's why I included on here. Let me share my screen again. On these other tools, Notability, Audio Note, and Glean. I'm not going to take the time necessarily to go through all these, but these are apps that give you that audio note-taking tool. So if you don't want a physical pen that can easily be lost and you want something on your laptop or on your tablet, it just records to the tablet or records to the device instead of recording to the pen. But still, you just type notes and it synchronizes it with what you're typing or using a stylus or whatever. So Notability, Audio Note, they have those same features. They have other features. I mean, they're note-taking apps, but that's I wanted to show the audio recording piece, since that is kind of the neat standout feature. You can get this sort of thing, including permission to record and preferred seating on a student's IEP. Fantastic to know, or as a reasonable accommodation in higher ed. Absolutely. Thank you, Carrie, very much for that input. It's a great strategy if kids are allowed to do it. Yep, also true, Kathy. So a lot of times kids might not be allowed. So there is an issue. Are there any laws or regulations about whether teachers can be recorded? I don't know what the laws are on that. If it's a public school, I mean, it's a public environment, they should be allowed to, but I have no idea. I can't speak to that. So that's just my personal opinion. So anyways, moving on, I'll show you Glean. Do we have time? I wasn't planning on showing Glean, so maybe I shouldn't, but I'll just show the website because it's kind of a neat tool. Glean is like these apps kind of taken to the extreme. Where did it go? There we go. Let me look at my sample event. Glean is a note-taking app. It has the audio note-taking in there, but you can import handouts like documents and PowerPoints. And if you see, here's the recording to the side, it gives you a visual representation of the recording. So I can see where there are pauses, in the conversation. And these markers are everywhere I hit this button that's an important thing. So instead of writing out the notes, I'm just hitting a button at important points in the lecture or conversation. So you can do a free trial with Glean, and so I wanted to put it on there. I think you might find it helpful. You have to use it online, so you need like a laptop or a tablet with a way to type is ideal, but you don't have to type. You can just tap to hit. This is an important part in the conversation. It's pretty cool. All right, we only have a handful of minutes left, so I'm going to cruise a little bit through. I was planning to kind of cruise through this. I just wanted to show organizing. This is a really hard thing to get down, and I'm glad someone asked the question because it reminded me there's so many different benefits and pros and cons, and each person is different. So I just wanted to show two different ideas for organizing your thoughts. One of them is mind mapping or flow charts. And the example that I put up on here is MindDomo is the name of it. There it is. Let me look at my sports one. And let me open it up. And so what you have here is you start with, here's your topic. Your topic is sports, and maybe you branch off and you put different things, football, soccer. Let's click on sports and let's add another one. Let's do baseball. And so you click on that and let's do one more. Let's do tennis. And you can branch all these things off, and then from those you can branch more. So teams, rules. Sorry, oops, I gotta click on this one. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I want to click on that one. There. And we were talking about football. We got to include dangers, concussions. So anyways, you can very quickly kind of create the structure that allows you to look at information a little bit different. For some people, this just becomes a mess and is not helpful, but for the right person, getting your thoughts out this way can be much better than trying to do it in this linear step-by-step fashion. So I like to show flow charts and this mind mapping idea as a new way to get your thoughts onto paper. And then there's a really cool feature here where if you go into, once you've created your mind map, there's a button called View as Outline, and it takes your mind map and converts it to an outline format. That alone is pretty cool, because a lot of times that can be just the assignment. The assignment is to turn in an outline, but it's really hard for you to think linearly like that. So you can switch back and forth between a mind map structure and an outline structure, which is pretty slick. And then in the interest of time, the other thing I wanted to show is this, this idea of assignment calculators. So if I click on this link, for example, the University of Minnesota, their library has an assignment calculator. It's really cool. So what type of assignment? Let's say you're writing a research paper. You click on that and you say, here's today. When's it due? Let's say it's due at the end of the month, 9/30, and let's calculate. And it does a couple of things. One, it tells you what you should do by the 5th and when you should do it. So by the 15th, by tomorrow, I should have understand the assignment and select a topic, and it walks you through what that is. Then by the 16th, I should draft my thesis, and it explains and gives you support on what those things are. So it's really cool. It doesn't just give you a timeline. It tells you what those things are that you should be doing within that timeline. And a lot of higher education programs have these. Check if your school does. Otherwise, this is free to use. In the University of Minnesota, just check out Assignment Calculator. It's a pretty neat tool just to help you break down the flow of your work and what you should do next. And also makes it seem more manageable, because you don't have to look at all the other things, just focus on the next thing. What's the next thing that you need to do? So that's a pretty cool way to do it. And then lastly, I wanted to point out tools like Grammarly and ProWritingAid. So Grammarly is pretty popular. I don't know if you noticed it, but I've installed it as a Chrome extension. And so everywhere that I'm writing, as long as Grammarly is running, so even like in my Gmail, so I'm typing and spelling thinks incorrectly, and it's coming up with a couple of things. One, it's coming up with misspelled words, so incorrectly is spelled incorrectly. I'm is missing that, but it also realizes that my verb is incorrect. It shouldn't really be think. That doesn't make sense. And this is just the free version. It just gives you a couple of things, and it's a great little tool. But with the paid version of Grammarly and with this tool, ProWritingAid, it actually adds some AI to let you know if how you're writing actually stands out. So it does things like it tells you how much of your writing is in a passive voice. If you have a sentence variety, it gives you like this both Grammarly and ProWritingAid give you a really cool breakdown of your writing. So So just for any level of writer, whether you're a beginner or an advanced writer, this is actually can be a really helpful tool to analyze your work. It's really cool. And Grammarly does have a free option that just does the basics that you saw there. But for the paid version, you can get some more features out of it, which is pretty slick. All right, so I kind of just ended abruptly. It's 3 o'clock. We're at the end of our time, but that is the end of my list there. The Simon Technology Center, if you want to see more devices like our writing supports, all of these tools that we talked about today, you can check out our website, pacer.org/STC, to sign up for free consultations. You can check out our lending library and check out different devices to try them out. We have a lot of different features. For those of you who are strapped on time, let me get you the survey here. Where is it hiding? There we go. And with that survey is the certificate of attendance. Boop. All right, let me put that in the chat for everyone there. And also this survey will go out in the follow-up email. So for whatever reason, you can't open it here. At the end, when you hit submit, it should give you a big thank you and then a link to download the certificate of attendance. And let me just check those questions. Do you like this better than inspiration? I do like it better than inspiration. It's a little bit more user. We're talking about MindDomo as a mind mapping tool. I find it's a little bit more user friendly than inspiration, but that's just my personal experience. But yeah, there, everyone, you have the link to the evaluation. Thank you so much for joining. Gosh, we had like 90 people here. That's really exciting. I appreciate it. We're going to do more writing workshops in the future. In fact, in a couple of months, we're going to take this information and maybe go a little bit further and dive deeper and look at some more fancy things. But I hope this was helpful. And I really appreciate everyone coming out. Any last minute questions before I sign out? All right, I don't see any coming in. If you do have questions, I forgot to put that here. Reach out to us. You can call us 952-838-9000, or you can email us stc@pacer.org, and all of us in the Simon Technology Center can see those emails. So someone will catch that, and then you can check out our website if you want to look at a consultation where we can dive deeper and more and individualized for you into a bunch of different tools, not just tools for writing. All right, thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. I hope you all have a great rest of your week, and I hope to see you again at our next workshop. Thanks again. Take care.